Hey everyone, welcome to the very first video on our brand new channel, Rogue Design Lab. Today we're heading straight into it and showing you how to fit a vinyl insert in a Transit custom rear door. Full disclosure, our wide format print has been out of action for about 5 months, so I'm a little bit rusty. I've not done this for a while, and honestly, I'm still learning the ropes anyway, but that's the fun of it, right? So let's give it a go and see how it turns out. Hopefully you'll pick up a few tips along the way. So this morning we're going to be sign writing this van. It's a Transit Custom and it's for IVS, the forklift place in our industrial estate. So we're going to start off with a rear insert panel in this door. So first thing we need to do is clean it. So you need isopropyl alcohol. The van's already been washed and it's just a case of the area in which we're sticking the vinyl. Needs a good clean. Into the recesses where the edge of the vinyl is going to be going, that also needs a really good clean. And then obviously the areas around it, because you don't want any contamination on the vinyl you're putting on. Use a clean cloth. Obviously you don't want any dirt. You don't want to leave any residue either from your isopropyl alcohol, because that can affect the adhesive and the longevity of how long it lasts and sticks to the panel. You need to really make sure the indent recess is clean. And then we have a nice clean panel to work with. Now the way we do this insert panel is we use knifeless tape. We're using Wrap Cut Pro. This one is more suited to straight lines, but you can go around corners with it as long as you stick it the right way. The main thing with this is the metal or the nylon filament that they use is on the inside edge of the tape. So as long as you start with that on the inside edge, then you're close and can go around corners. So you do have to eyeball this and make sure that you follow the line and that you stick this on as neat as you possibly can. It does help if you've got a steady hand, because you want the line to be as neat as possible for when it cuts the vinyl. You do sometimes have to remove and reseat it if it doesn't look quite right. It's very important that you get it right. I'm relatively new to sign writing. I will get lots wrong. I'm sure people will be able to pick up errors in what I'm doing. But every day is a school day. We are getting better at it. And I'm probably a little bit better than I give myself credit for, in all honesty. But I don't have good confidence in things like this. So you can see we've run the knifeless tape all the way around the edge. I think the line just needs to move up a little bit there and then follow around more. And then trim off with the scissors. So as you can see, we've gone past the door edge where we're going to go. We make sure that the edge is pressed on the best we can get it. It'll not go perfect, as I say, we're going round corners. That is now stuck on nice and neatly and will give us a reasonably good cut line. Now this is the panel we're fitting. And we use magnets to hold it in place while we're working out what we're doing. So we've done these before. It wants to be the edge of the V on the sticker, the edge of the point should I say, wants to be approximately 45mm from the edge of the door. Just get a couple more magnets. And a tape measure. So we want to be over a fair bit. We're now bang on 45mm. And we're in the right place for where we are, for the bottom and the top. And we're basically keeping this line straight with that. So again, 42mm to the edge and 42mm, so we're bang on. So this front area is exactly where it should be. What I like to do is trim off the excess. It makes it a lot easier to get a neat edge. The closer you are to the edge, the easier it is. But you have to make sure you don't cut into what you need. And make sure that you don't catch the paint with the scissors. Obviously there's a fair amount of excess on the top as well. Now our wide format printer has been out of action for about November, December, January, February, March, about 5 months. So I've not done any of this for 5 months, but we have now got a new Mamaki printer in and it's allowed us to get back on with this kind of work. So what I tend to do with this, I've got some different flatter magnets because we don't want to lose the position that we've got, because the position is straight and how we want it. We've cleaned the panel, his hands are clean, So what we're doing now is peeling off the backing and starting to position. So all I do is tack in 2 places. Just going to put a little marker so I make sure I get it back in the right place. Like I said, I'm very out of practice with this. So the edge of the point needs to be level with that. Now we're tacked on at this side so it can't really move. And that's the backing off. Now we are using air release vinyl. What I do on these is start to press out from the middle. Now we've got the line, we can just lift these edges. If I can get the nail under. The vinyl's quite forgiving. You take it back like that. And then you work your way outwards. And then the same again. From your centre line, work down, making sure you get any air bubbles. And then you work your vinyl into the corner. There's an ever so slight curve on it, so you will get the vinyl wanting to crease up in certain areas, but you don't need any heat when fitting one of these. Or sometimes if I'm fitting and it doesn't quite go right, sometimes you use a bit of heat just to lay the vinyl back flat again, because the vinyl will shrink down with heat, so you can make it fit an area where it isn't necessarily going to fit. And you need to make sure that you're getting in all your edges, because you want everything to stick nicely. And with us using the fine line cut tape, you have to work it into all the edges. You have to make sure it sticks in the edge before it sticks on the panel that you're putting it to. The overlap sticks and then it stops it going into the corners. But as you're pushing it into the corners, you can actually see a raised bit from the tape underneath, so you know when you've got it. And you can hear the air coming out. It doesn't take that long to fit one of these insert panels. They're actually nice and easy to fit. You can see we've got the line perfect onto the tape. Just have a quick feel over the vinyl, make sure you've not got any air bubbles anywhere. The reason why I took the excess off, I got very close on this area, but I was just all right. When you've got a lot of excess on this corner going into a squared corner from your vinyl, that will bunch up and make it very difficult to get that flat. So the more of it you take off, the easier it is to do. So now it's time to go with a fine line tape, the cutting tape. We do have some with a metal insert and some that's it's this yellow, I think it's nylon string. Now when you start on the very edge, you take up to the edge and then you put your finger on it because it'll tear it unevenly if you don't put your finger on to start it. And then you tear away. It's not cut perfectly on that corner because of the angle I've had it at, which was my error. But I can tidy that up after. So you take the string out like that, and then your excess vinyl and the string. And as you can see, apart from the bottom bit, which I'll sort afterwards, we've got a lovely cut and a nice fit. Now I don't want to cut into the paint on this. You have to be you have to be strong enough to cut the vinyl and just not go into the paint. Which you can do. If I'd have pulled correctly on the actual tape, we wouldn't have had that issue. There's a little bit here that I want to trim as well. As I say, it's you can, if you're experienced, which I'm semi-experienced I'd say, you can cut this at the right pressure without going through the paint. But you do have to be very careful. So we've now got nice neat edges. You just go over your edge again. Just to make sure the edge is stuck down. You want to make sure you've got no air bubbles at all, which we haven't, which, I mean, you shouldn't do with air release anyway. Before we used to use air release, I hated fitting vinyl. Very difficult without the air release vinyl. And that is how you fit a rear insert panel. Hope that's helped some people, showed you a little bit about what we do, and let's get on with the rest of it. So that's the panel fitted, and honestly, it's turned out great. It's not the trickiest job in the world, but it is the first one I've done in about 6 months, so I'm definitely getting my hands back in. There's still loads more to do on this van, so let's crack on, and I'll bring you along and show you the rest of the process. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stick around. There's plenty more coming your way from Rogue Design Lab. The next one was fitting is the IVS logo on the other door. This is just cut out text lettering, so fairly easy to fit. We measure 135mm off the corner, 50mm off the top in the centre, and then 70mm all the way down. That's how we did the last one of these vans for them, so we keep it the same. Want everything to look in the same position. And then what we do is we tape this side down, which allows us to make sure we fit it in the correct position without it moving. So we tape that edge down. I'm just going to measure that I've still got it the 70mm top and bottom. 70, 71, that's close enough. Then we can remove the magnet. Can also remove these bits of tape now because it's fixed at this side. Just going to give it a final wipe over with a bit of cleaner. Before we stick this down. Again, isopropanol alcohol, which is a really good cleaner. We're using an Autosmart one called Panel Prep Plus. Can't get my words out today. Again, you should leave no residue, so go to the dry side of the cloth. And you can feel the cloth starts to stick to the panel a little bit more. It doesn't slide like it did before you clean it. Again, we're using a vinyl which is air release. So it does make it a little bit easier to fit. Just have to make sure when you're peeling the backing off that some of the small letters doesn't come off, just like that T was just about to do. I'll just peel the other way. And then holding the vinyl, it's tight because of the tape, so you just keep it taut and lay it down like that. And then you get your squeegee. And I'll lightly go over the bottom text first, because the smaller letters at the bottom, if there's a curve, you can get some creases in them. Once you've got a crease in them, you can heat them up and get rid of them, but it's quite hard to do. Just remove the excess tape. And then I like to give the letters individually a press on, like so. If you go to press the whole thing on, you can see there's creases appearing. You can sometimes get creases. So I always, you work outwards like that. And once you've got all your letters down, you can then run over the whole panel. But you can see like there, you may get that in your letters if you don't press them first. It's important to press your letters or whatever you're putting on there down first. And make sure that they're well and truly pressed on. And then remove your backing paper, your application tape. And there we have the next one fitted. Looks great. Difficult when you're doing these sometimes because the lines of the van curve and the doors curve. So getting things straight is not always, even though they're straight, they don't look straight. So I always work off the centre line of the doors on the rear of the van because that is straight, or it is straight on these vans anyway. So you always work off the centre line of the door and keep things, and then they tend to flow around with the panel, and then hopefully it looks right when you. So the next two we're doing is one here and one here. So I need to clean these areas again. Turn your cloth to a dry clean base. It's always best to keep getting new cloths as they get a little bit damp with cleaner and dirty with the dirt you're getting off. It's always good just to keep getting new cloths. So them two areas are now clean. We have two decals to go on here. Which is that one and that one. Again, we've got measurements. So this one needs to be level with the line, the swage line of the door, and then we want to be 90mm from the end. So we need to move this way. That should be right then. So that is now 90mm. This side should be about 135, I think. Yeah, 135. Again, we're following the line of the door. It does drop off at this side, so you just follow it along the majority of it. Just check again that we're at, just need to come back that way a little bit now, 90mm. Check we're the same top and bottom, we are. Again, we'll take this off. On this side, I put a little bit of tape on so we know where we're aiming for. Again, we're on air release vinyl. Makes it easier for fitting. Not quite happy with how that laid there. There we go. So, apologies, I forgot to press record when I was setting up for this one. Normally I'm too busy concentrating on getting the recording right and get something wrong with the fitting. On this occasion, I got it the other way around. So again, I've done some measurements and that one's fitted. As I say, it's important to keep all the vans we're doing the same, even though we do them over many years and spread apart. We'll now do the next one, the lower one. So again, we're 105mm. Now that's at 105mm. And on this one, we just keep it central. So we want to go down a tad. And this one we do by eye. That is spot on where it needs to be. Again, a little bit of tape, not really required, but it just helps when laying to make sure you're getting it level. That one just lifted the, make sure your vinyl's flat when you're taping. Now again, with the really small letters, you just have to be careful when you're removing the backing. If you do it too fast, you can end up losing and ripping letters. It's best just to take your time. And then again, keep it tight and just lay it at the right level where it needs to be. Once you've laid that, just need again to press it on. You'll generally not have any issues with things sticking, especially if you've cleaned the panel properly. As long as you've cleaned the panel properly, everything will stick. There we go, that's another one done. And then we've got one more to do, which is the web address and phone number on the rear door, which I'm just finding in the pile of graphics. Just going to have to move the camera slightly so I can get in. So that's the one we're putting on. We just need to clean again. So I've realised the problem I was having while previously filming, why it stopped and why I thought I'd not pressed record. It had activated voice control on its own somehow in the menus when I'd done an update or something, and something I was saying was telling it to stop recording. That's now sorted and we're back on with recording. So we've cleaned this panel off with the isopropyl alcohol, and we're using the transit badge on this one. And we're basically lining it up with the N. I had to look at my notes then and see what I'd done previously. There's not a lot of room for this. So we're lining up with the left hand side of the N on the paper, and then everything else, we're following the bottom of the badge. Just ever so minute amount under it. And again, we'll tape it off and hinge it. Now, this is just cut vinyl, but because it's dual colour, they are cut separately and then put together as one. So we've got extra backing on the black. Just makes the alignment easier. Be careful when removing the backing. And then again, lay that nice and flat. Now on this one, there is a chance you can get some creases again in the letters if you're not careful. So I always go down the centre line and then do them upwards and downwards on the top and bottom, and then that way you escape getting any creases. And again, that's the final one on the rear done. Just remove all this measures and we'll take off the panel, our guide for the sizings. Put that on the side because that's where we're going to be working next. And we'll just show you the finished result. So that's the rear of the van, and that's complete. It's taken me a lot longer than I anticipated because filming something like this really slows the job down. But it's nice to get some filming done and get our first video complete. So now I'm going to get on with doing the rest of the van. I think this video has gone on for long enough today, but in future we may release a video doing the rest and the sides. I want to do the sides on this one without filming because I haven't done them for a while and they're quite intricate and complicated. So see you next time. If you've liked the video, please put a like on, help us by subscribing, and we'll see you next time.